Are you someone who's struggling to figure out how in the world can I break into the marketing industry, the tech industry? How can I get into this space when I have zero connections? I was in your shoes and I'm going to show you in this video exactly how I was able to do it and build a successful career that has allowed me to see the world and make relationships that will last a lifetime. When I was growing up, I really knew nobody in the C-suite. I knew nobody who was working in marketing. I knew nobody who was working in accounting, in tech even. I didn't know anybody who was doing what I essentially wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be in business. I knew I wanted to be a marketer. I knew I wanted to come up with ideas and share them with the world and be able to do that and make a living in the process. But I didn't really know anyone who could take me under their wing and mentor me. I couldn't find a mentor to kind of show me the ropes. So I had to rely on doing things a little bit differently. And I really do believe that there's a lot of people out there who were like me who just don't have the network connections. They don't have the uncle who can bring them in for an internship as a marketing professional. They don't have the aunt who could bring them into a marketing conference and be the CMO who hires them as their executive assistant. For a lot of people, you don't have those same opportunities that other people have. So if you are somebody who doesn't have the connection, there's a few things that you can do to ultimately allow you to stand out, that will allow you to break into the industry and create a sustaining career that will last for years to come. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about exactly how I was able to do it and some of the strategies that I would take if I was talking to a 20-year-old me or a 21-year-old me or even a 19-year-old me, somebody who was interested in breaking into this industry but didn't really have the connections or the opportunities that a lot of other people may have. The first piece of advice is a shout out to Olivia Pope and those guys on Scandal, where it's the simple concept. You have to strive to be twice as good. You have to be twice as good as somebody who has connections. You have to be twice as good as somebody who can get that internship because their dad runs the company. You have to be twice as good as the person who can get an intro and get a ticket to that local conference because their dad's going to throw them a couple grand to actually go to the event. You have to be twice as good. You have to be twice as strategic, and you have to constantly be willing to put in that extra work to get there. That's just a reality. There's one thing that I always recommend to people who are just starting out their career and they might not necessarily have those opportunities in front of them, and it's prioritizing education over entertainment. And while I know that might seem lame, and I know that you're young and you want to go and you want to have a lot of fun and you want to party and all of that good stuff, and don't get me wrong, I think there's time for that, you often have to prioritize education over entertainment. And what I mean by that is you might have to stop playing FIFA on the weekend. That might mean that you have to give up watching every NBA game throughout the course of this season. That might mean that you have to stop playing The Sims on a regular basis. That might mean you have to watch less Netflix. It might mean that you have to play less video games. All of these things that you are sacrificing is going to be a short-term pain for a long-term gain. These short-term entertainment sacrifices that you're going to be making is what's going to elevate you past your colleagues. It's this sacrifice that's going to allow you to kind of go past them in terms of understanding how different things work that they're not actually learning about in school. So you prioritize your education in these early days to learn everything there is to know about social media, everything there is to know about editing, everything there is to know about design, about Google Analytics, about Twitter Analytics, you name it. You are investing time early on so you understand these things better than the person standing next to you. The second thing that you need to consider if you are trying to break into the marketing industry and you don't have any connections is the importance of always moving forward. Shout out to Luke Cage. You always have to be moving forward. While everybody else is playing that game of let's throw our resumes into a black box, you should be playing the game of let's make my resume so enticing, so intriguing, my career seems so exciting, and I have so much potential that people have to hire you. And the way that you do that is by doing things that go outside of the norm. You create a blog, you create a website, you create a Twitter account, you create a Tumblr account, you create a YouTube series, you create your own fashion brand, you set up a Shopify account, you set up an Etsy store, you start creating things. When you start doing that, it allows you to differentiate yourself from everybody else who's who's competing with you for a job. I'm going to share with you something that most people don't realize. The vast majority of the people watching this video, the vast majority of the people on the internet, the vast majority of the people that you know get really excited about ideas. I'm gonna create a store, I'm gonna create a blog, I'm gonna create a video series, I'm gonna create a movie, I'm gonna write a script, I'm gonna launch a video, I'm gonna do all of these different things. And those ideas are so exciting. They get us fired up, they get us going, right? They get our juices pumped. But in reality, that's where many people stop. Many people stop at the exciting point. They stop with the idea because that's what feels good. The excitement around coming up with an idea gives us endorphins and makes us feel great. But it's the actual doing that counts. It's the actual doing that matters. And when you're able to make that leap between somebody who's thinking about shipping and somebody who actually does ship, that's when you're going to find a massive amount of success. And the third thing that I would recommend to anybody going into the marketing industry is to embrace the idea of the boring work. The boring work is what makes up the most exciting work. It's just oftentimes never seen. It's all behind the scenes. It's all the work that goes into creating something of value. It's what goes into being a genius who can speak on stage and captivate the attention of 1,300 people. That only is possible because you're willing to do the boring stuff first. It's not all glitz and glamour. You don't just rise up to the top and be at the top of an industry to be at the top of your career. You have to do the boring stuff first. And the boring stuff is things like reading a report. It's sending an email to a customer. It's reaching out to someone for a coffee. It's watching a tutorial like this online. It's editing videos. It's editing images. It's going through the proofreading process of editing your own blog posts and your own written content. It's studying analytics and learning what traffic means and what referral traffic means and what the difference between organic, earned, paid, and media is all about. It's spending the time to actually understand the nuances. It's working on the weekend. It's working in the evenings. It's doing the things that aren't necessarily sexy, that aren't going to show up on Instagram, but ultimately have the potential to change your life. And the final tip that I have for anybody who is trying to break into the marketing industry that might not have any connections today is the intentional effort of meeting new people. You see, there's this whole philosophy of no new friends, no new friends, no new. Shout out to Drake. Drake came up with that concept. But when Drake came out with those lyrics, he wasn't talking about you. He wasn't talking about somebody who's just starting in their career. He's talking about once you make it. Once you make it and you want to start talking about no new friends, I get it. But in your early on in your career, when you're just trying to break into an industry, new friends is important. New friends is what's going to give you opportunity. You are the average of the people who you spend the vast majority of your time with. So if you are spending your time with a bunch of people who are unemployed, you're probably going to be unemployed. So you need to start making connections with people who are doing what you want to do. You have to start making connections with people who have achieved what you want to achieve. And there's a lot of things that you can do to actually make that happen. The first thing that I would recommend is that you actually dive in and start doing some local research in your city. Name 10 people who are doing what you want to do. Name 10 people who are in a career that you want to work in. 10 people who are in an industry or work at an organization that you aspire to work for, who work with a boss that you would love to work with. Find these 10 people. And then once you've found them, reach out to them. But don't reach out to them asking them to be a mentor. That's the worst thing you can do. Don't reach out to them asking for anything. What you're going to do is you're going to reach out to them and just provide assistance. You're going to reach out to them and say, I'm genuinely curious about what you're working on. I'm genuinely curious about what your day-to-day life is like. And I just want to learn from you. Learn about your career. I want to learn about what you've done to get where you are today. I want to learn about what you do on a day-to-day basis. You want to ask them for that type of information, and then you're going to use that information to grow personally. You're going to use that information to grow professionally. You're going to use that information to identify what you need to be doing to get where they are. What you're doing when you build this relationship is you're establishing a connection with someone. And when you have these connections, it increases the opportunity of you to be top of mind. So when you're top of mind in these people's minds, when a job opportunity comes up, they're more likely to refer you. They're more likely to pass your name along over the person who has tons of connections, because guess what? That person with a ton of connections has never reached out to them. That person with tons of connections have never asked them, is there anything I can do to help you? Another tip for how you can help people is to simply do things that are beneficial for them. Do for others what you would want done unto you. Everybody who writes a blog post, everybody creates a YouTube video, anybody who has a website is always looking for feedback. They're always looking for comments. They're always looking for people to share their stuff. They're always looking for people to help them when they have a typo. They're always looking for some type of assistance. So if you can find a broken link on a website, if you can find a typo, if you can find a way for them to be better at using Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat, and you can offer your advice, they will take that as gold. And they will use that as, again, another way of knowing that you are somebody who can add value to their life. So if they can add value back to you, I believe they will. So there you have it. Those are 4 simple steps that I would take if I was in your shoes and I was trying to figure out how I could break into the industry. First and foremost, you need to prioritize education over entertainment. Remember what I said, you have to be 2 times as good. And the only way that you can do that is by investing in yourself, by building your skills, by investing time and energy into reading, into learning, into spending the time fine-tuning your craft so you have the skills to differentiate yourself from the other people walking across that stage at graduation. The second thing that you need to do to ensure that you can land that career in marketing or in tech is to ensure that you're not just being idle, right? You don't want to sit on the sidelines hoping that a job opportunity is going to fall in your lap. It's probably not. You have no connections. It's not going to happen. What you need to do is actually always be moving forward. You need to always be trying to create something, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a blog, whether it's an Etsy shop, you name it. Create something and people will start to take notice that you're not just a talker, you're actually a doer. And that's going to allow you to, again, stand out amongst the crowd. The third thing that I recommend you do is actually doing the boring work. The things that might not seem exciting, the things that might seem like grunt work, those are the things that are going to offer you a lot of long-term value. It's commenting on blog posts, it's reading research papers, it's watching a YouTube video on how to edit on Photoshop, how to create a wireframe. What is a wireframe? It's spending the time to learn from people on channels like Hacker News, growthhackers.com, inbound.org, going to subreddits and asking questions about your industry. It's spending the time to actually develop your skills when you could be out partying. And the final thing that you have to do when you're trying to make it into this industry and you have no connections is to, well, make connections. And the way that you do that is you go on a site like Twitter, you find a bunch of people in your industry. You go on a site like LinkedIn, you find a bunch of people in your industry and you start to follow them or you start to connect with them. And when you reach out to them, you're not asking them to give you something. You're asking how you can help them. You're asking to learn from them. You're asking them if you can provide any value possible. What would that look like? Can you tell them about a broken link on their website? Can you help them fix and get more amplification on their Twitter account or on their Instagram account? Can you fix the responsive issue on their website? Whatever it may be, can you provide value instead of always asking for something? I hope you're able to take these 4 tips and you can use them in your life and you'll be able to actually break into the marketing industry and not only just get in, but also build a career that will succeed and give you everything that you dream of from your career, from your profession, and from your work. And if you're able to do that, I know that this video will be a success. So please share it. Share it with somebody who you know has no connections, but they're trying to break into the tech industry. Share it with somebody who's been trying to break into marketing, but hasn't been able to find that great break. Share it with somebody who you believe has all of the potential in the world, but just needs a little bit of guidance. I really hope that this video can help them, help you, and really allow more people to get into this industry that has done so much for me that it can also do the same for you. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the red subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. I am constantly publishing content on a regular basis around marketing, business, growth, how you can develop yourself both personally and professionally to ensure that you're living and creating the life of your dreams. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.